Good morning, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon, and I'm so glad you are joining me in this program. And it is today we will be talking about financial support in the United Kingdom, and we have done so over a few weeks. But before uh, uh, focusing on financial support, we started this program by looking at the cost of living crisis, which is actually the epicenter of our conversation. It being the cost of living has been topical for now a long time. I think it is about since 2021 probably. It emerged as a critical issue in the United Kingdom and also a critical issue across the globe, and we have been pursuing in on this program to talk about it. Watch this video and also watch the rest of the video on this topic, uh, referencing financial support to the cost of living crisis. And the cost of living crisis is important. This information is repeatable, and to no offense at all. And watch this video. If you haven't subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much to everybody who have been subscribing, and also thank you very much if you haven't. And it's time for everything, and you're warmly welcome to this space, to this program. And I'm extremely excited coming to participate, inviting viewers to actually join in this program. And thank you to YouTube as a platform for the opportunity. And it is self-enhancing as well as potentially and a space to actually open avenues, including avenues for freedom of speech, and also a learning platform information. You can get advice on this platform, maybe not mine, but you can actually get training material from where every content content creator. Hopefully, maybe in the future, if I design a training facility in the future, probably I will provide training online. On the I will record a training video. Who knows? I mean, it could be sooner than later, but that means more work, more organization, more learning on using the equipment, and also I mean a lot of investment in resources to produce video. And in the last few videos, if you watch, I've been exploring options of creating content, and I'll leave a comment below if you think it is actually a good approach, and also leave a comment below if you think it is not. And be positive and nice. You can be nasty, but without breaking the rules of YouTube. If I don't take you out, or luckily enough, I haven't actually taken anybody. I've probably blocked a few people. I haven't. I'm not even paying attention to, because see, not a lot of people are actually saying much, which is a good thing, and also it can be improved. I want more people to actually engage with this program, with this channel. I'm keen for people to actually have a conversation, but there is time for everything. My focus now is to produce content, and it's a small program. We have been 1 year, just over 1 year participating. This channel was created in 2012, 10 years ago, over 10 years now coming. But I haven't actually done anything. I never did anything until 2022. So 2021 has been the full year. 2023 rather, last year, has been the full year operational. And this year is an addition to last year. We are pushing now, we are in March. So you could arguably say we are 1 year and 3 months and counting. And I'm so excited. It has been challenging. It is challenging. It will always be challenging. YouTubing is challenging, but life without challenge is a dull life. So that's why YouTubers are actually very exciting. I hope we are also excitable. I don't know what excitability would amount to, but let us stick with what we have got. It is what it is, and I'm going to talk about money in a minute. I'm just trying to give an overview because I'm actually doing what I used to do, showing my face. In the last couple of days, I've been hiding my face for a change, doing something slightly different. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed, and leave a comment below. Click like and notification bell. Join in the conversation by leaving a comment. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Thank you so much, and continue watching. So let us talk about money in the United Kingdom. Money given to people who need money in the UK. And there's been talking about benefit, universal credit. Universal credit is actually a form of money in the UK given to people who need it. Watch this video and watch the rest of the video as well, in which I've been talking about the cost of living. I've been talking about universal credit. So I also said if you need benefit, you need to claim benefit. If you don't claim it, you won't get it. There is the government department in the United Kingdom called the Department of Work and Pension, the DWP in short, an acronym. If you live in the United Kingdom, then you know what this is. The Department of Work and Pension, the DWP, that's where people go associating with, including actually the job center and also the benefit section. People go there to look for work at job centers. At job centers also you go to meet your work coach, which are actually employment advisor. They're called work coaches. They kind of like support you to find work, training, and manage your part of managing your benefit. If you watch this video, watch the rest of the video, because there are a lot of information are provided with regards to their benefit. The central plank of benefit system or benefit component product in the UK is universal credit. Today we are going to proceed from where we left. So watching this video would be more helpful if you watch it with the rest of what we actually discussed in the previous video. There is when you are sick. When you are sick, this is a continuation of what we shared previously. When you are sick and very sick, because there is this, in terms of universal credit, there is being sick and there's also being very sick. And there's being very, very sick as well. If you are very, very, very sick, which means you're probably terminally ill. Terminal illness means you're going to die. If you're terminally ill, such that you're probably going to die in 6 months or 12 months. And this will be evidenced by your doctor and other sources of evidence. You will not be subjected to something called health assessment. health assessment or medical assessment done by the Department of Work and Pension. That means you will actually be eligible or entitled, providing entitlement almost automatically. And I wanted to criticize this policy and also the process where the government somehow mysteriously believe that people who are very sick need more benefit than people who are not sick. This is actually illogical, in my opinion. Leave a comment below. You think the government is actually in its right mind to equate sickness or even terminality of health, of life, in relation to money? People think differently. But I think if people are very, very sick, they don't necessarily need more or less money. They need medical support and care, which is actually a different ball of game. But leave a comment below and share with me what you think the wisdom of the government might be. I have said it is really appropriate for the government to pay one benefit, but pay high level of benefits. I say, 20 to 30,000 pounds per month, per annum, per year, every year. And I think that should be done also for, if you're working and earning minimum wage. You're working and earning minimum wage, then the government should pay you 30,000. When I say the government paying you, it means the government actually supporting small and medium businesses in the first place, but where necessary, and I don't see the necessity, supporting bigger businesses as well. Because usually the bigger the business, the more wealth they have in terms of profitability, in terms of profit maximization. The bigger, the wealthier, the more profit this organization make, and therefore it is only morally creditable for this organization, multi-billion organization, to pay their workers, their employees decently. And the decency, in my opinion, is actually paying at least between 20 and 30,000 net earning. This will get the British people out of poverty. I'm talking about Britain. But referencing Britain, we are to the global economies, whether in America or Europe, Asia or Africa, or other parts of the continents. And this should be done as a method of coalition, Britain leading, or America, or any other country leading, but working ultimately as a coalition of global governments across the globe, especially in Africa and also Asia, so that the government can do the decent thing to get the world, the global citizens out of poverty now, not tomorrow, now. There is so much wealth, the evidence are written all over the faces of the earth. And if any government says otherwise, then they should question leaders, especially dictators in Africa, who are multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires in Africa in US dollar. But also some big business entrepreneurs and investors who are in Africa, measured actually in net value, in dollar, in millions and billions. Sometimes tens, sometimes probably also hundreds of billions. 100 billion is a lot of money compared to people who don't even cannot afford shoes, cannot afford even to take their children to school in Africa. People who cannot even access food, clean drinking water. This is evil. We should stop today if we want peace. Otherwise, there is no peace for the wicked. I don't disagree with anyone holding similar views to this. This is nothing to do with extremism. The government should concentrate on peace. It shouldn't hide behind some funny laws threatening poor people with laws such as laws on extremism. Extremism is now being almost equated to terrorism. If you are actually construed as extremist, at least in terms of public perception, because it's a form of almost of harassment, or people who are actually outside the accessibility of the law because of poverty, because of government attitude on public policy and public sector, where the government actually closing down even legal aid, where poor people actually cannot access justice in a country like Britain or any other country in the world. This is a form of violence, a form of intimidation when the government is quick, is, trigger happy to set laws which are actually too broad, defining extremism, so as to actually intimidate people who are trying to break loose from the grip of the state to get their freedom. And you actually sanction freedom by setting what is potentially draconian type of law in the name of fighting terrorism, in the name of fighting extremism. This should stop in Britain, should stop anywhere in the world. If they want peace, if they want prison, if they want draconian legalism, then that is their choice. They are the government, and the British people, the people of the world, have the capacity so far to do their best to unite and speak truth to power. The longer we keep silence, the longer the British people refuse to speak in any way, the longer we, as the people of the world, choose ignorance over enlightenment, the more imprisonment we are going to experience in a modern world where we have failed to know peace. Peace is a false economy because we have failed culturally. I have said this before, I will continue saying, we need peace. And we are the authors and the finishers for our own peace. If we learn our culture, if we learn our economy, our cultural economy, then we will begin to improve as individuals, as groups, to try and bring peace, to try and work together, to try and believe in ourselves, and work as hard as possible to succeed. And also to start thinking, using our brains. We are intelligent creatures. We are humans. We can't just, be treated like animals. We are not. You should not be made to stop thinking. We need to think, whether you have money or not. Thinking is actually an act of will. Because if you lose the will, actually, to think, then you're actually introducing the tyranny of ignorance. And this has to really stop. People should change how they start thinking using their head. Read, learn. If you have to take a break, have fun. Focus, concentrate. People have very, short attention spans. I mean, even you produce a video like this, I don't know how long people, if I look at my analytics, some people are just like, they actually stop, they stop watching as soon as, they stop watching as soon as you shut down, as soon as you kind of like stop doing one thing and you start doing another thing, then you have stopped concentrating. Our attention deficit, because we need to concentrate. We need to actually have friends. If they are friends, then we need to have friends. Credible friends, good people, good friends around us. People who encourage us. People who are actually humane. We need to have friends. We need to have friends. We need to have good family. We have to have a community. As individuals, we need, one another. We have to visit. We need to kind of like visit friends and have a laugh. But ultimately, we need to work as hard as possible, whether we are paid or not paid. It's the best thing to do, to work as hard as, because if you work, even if you are paid, even if you are not paid, that is a step towards succeeding. And this is something we can pay attention to. This is something we can learn to value, valuing work. But most of all, if there is a need, if there's children, there are pensioners in your community, try to help them. Reach out, do something good with your life, and celebrate life as well. And these are some of the human quality we need to really acquire to apply in our lives. Respecting our lives, respecting other people, respecting our property, respecting other people's property, because sometimes we abuse our money. We get into debt unnecessarily. And that's what I'm about to talk about now. I understand if people are sick and they are struggling financially.
Some see the original, mighty the god, the magical radical. Representing my magical, young Jose come million. Amigo wacha, that ifta, kina teach me again, amigo kopa. That wacha, kina damage me again, amigo wacha. That ifta, kina teach me again, amigo kopa. That ifta, kina damage me again.
That's just a camera, they are we are there for the bed. We have they say you're my baby. Every day I call you, I know you're my baby. Baby, got no match on you. Baby, back on you. But it's a
So let us continue with the conversation right here, right now. When you are actually claiming universal credit, you can claim standard allowance. Watch this video and the rest of the video. But you can also claim when you are sick. There is something called limited capability for work-related activity, which is a difficult thing to read. LCWRA, an acronym. Limited capability for work-related activity. This is when you are very sick. You get around 390 pounds and 6 pence. This is extra money you get in addition to standard allowance and other elements you might be receiving in universal credit. This is the continuation of the other video. Watch this video and the rest of the video on universal credit. Money given in the United Kingdom. And I've already said, if you don't live in the UK, try to also understand what happened in the United Kingdom, because it actually applies to what happened in your country. If you are in a country in Africa, or you're in a country in Asia, and that is what happens, and therefore it is a situation you could be interested to actually familiarize yourself with, because the benefit policy and the conditions of getting benefit is extremely complex. And we find opportunity. Thank you so much for finding opportunity. Thank you yourself also for finding opportunity to watch these videos. And so you get extra payment. That's when you are not ready for work, when the Department of Work think you are actually not ready for work, because it is up to Department of Work and Pension to decide ultimately whether they are ready for work, whether you are ready for work or not. You give them information, you give them evidence, and you give evidence, and that is extremely important. Continue watching. So, if the government awards you benefits for sickness, you start getting it after 3 months, and that is wrong. Because you could start getting this money after 3 hours. There's absolutely no basis for that. So if you have an MP, contact your member of parliament and report the Department of Work and Pension to your member of parliament. I'm not saying the MP is going to do anything, because this is government policy. But the MPs can talk to ministers and their department to creating a policy which is actually bogus. Because if you are sick, if you are awarded a benefit, and the benefit you are awarded is actually 390, about £400 per month, why should you wait for 3 months when you can get it in 3 minutes? As soon as it is actually, you are actually assessed as having, the benefit can be assessed within hours because of technology. You can get it the next day. To be more conservative, why do you wait for 3 months? Because the government attitude is not to pay benefit to people. Like in its reluctance to do anything, including provided adequate minimum wage. I'm talking about income. When I talk about benefit, I'm trying to amuse myself. I'm actually trying to talk about income. And I'm relating this to poverty. We may call it cost of living crisis if you want, but I say poverty. And if the British people or any people of any world think they are not poor, that is their glory, that is their joy. Have a nice party. Because you see, if you cannot afford to buy a house outright to live in, then think again. If you think you're poor, if you're watching this video, if you think you're rich, leave a comment below. If you earn £10 an hour on the minimum wage, on the national living and minimum wage in the United Kingdom, if that is happening, you think you're rich, or you think you're not poor, then, be blessed. We need to really live in the real world and determine whether or not we are actually, we need to understand the basis of our statuses. Are we actually in poverty or not? We may be British, we may be Africans, or Europeans, or whichever country you come from. You think you are poor, you think you are rich, fair enough. But, thinking you are one thing or another is not really the same with being something. And I say this with advice that, if we don't really take our lives seriously, the government will take us for a ride. Because, you see, the government's attitude is not to help people, because not like the government doesn't want to help, but it cannot. Because of political ideology, because of the politics of violence, because of disrespect for democracy. We are democracies of the world. In Africa, there is democracy. In the United Kingdom, there is democracy. In every world, every sector of society, there is democracy. We need to respect democracy. Every government, including the government of the UK, should be respectful of democracy. There cannot be meaningful democracy with poverty. Because what is creating a problem is poverty. Well, that's why the public sector is supposed to be there to get the British people out of poverty. If the government wants to shut down in any way, whether you're shutting down the services, the economy, whatever you plan to shut down, including the legal system, including medical or whatever, shut it down only after the British people are out of poverty. That means every British citizen and resident, if you live in the United Kingdom legally, and if you are actually, there is a immigration nonsense about no recourse to public funds, that should be stopped today. People who come into this Britain, in this country, the moment you are given a stay, you should have access to every opportunity, including benefit. The reason there is benefit because the economy cannot provide decent jobs adequately. There are a lot of fake jobs there, jobs which are actually poorly paid, which are actually poorly managed. 0-hour contract is an example, which actually we cannot hide behind flexibility, because we have to choose whether we want to be flexible or not. There are choices which are fake because you have no choice. you are actually desperate for work. You see, because you see, if you're actually an employer, you have the upper hand. But I'm not having a go at small and medium businesses because they need help from the government. They need support from the government. Today, every government coming should have money to give to small and medium business because they're struggling, they're closing down. Big businesses can close down if they want, but if they are to close down, also the government should find money from somewhere to support big businesses. But big businesses should be regulated so that they don't practice corruption, such as we saw in 2007 and 2008 with the credit crunch in America. It was an act of corruption within the businesses, big businesses. They were probably construed to be too big to fail. And they created a problem in America and around the globe. It's something called the credit crunch. Because the practices were actually, to say the least, was overhyped. The credit system is wrong and it has to be closed down. But it seems to me now, as I speak, we might run out of options except to run a system which is really, really, really bad, a system of credit, which should not be even heard of. This is a system of corruption where big lending banks and financial corporations feed on the blood of the people of the world. In Africa, in Europe, in whichever continent, they are spreading like wildfire with the credit, whatever you call it. The credit system should stop. There is no need for credit system to exist except to distort the process of economy, the process of financing. I mean, if you have money, why would you borrow? Why should big businesses, multi-billion, multi-million individuals borrow money? And actually, in the process, preventing people who are not multi-billionaires and multi-billionaires from accessing anything. I have actually been repeating this point. I will be repeating it because it is critical. It is actually, if you want to talk about peace, let us talk about poverty and extreme wealth, extreme poverty and extreme wealth in a world where we are actually accessing technology, state-of-the-art machines, which will be able to produce wealth unlimited. And that's what I believe. If you think I'm wrong, leave a comment below. If you think I'm right, leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. Continue sharing with family and friends. If you want to watch or not watch, if you don't want to watch the video, don't watch it. If you want to be quiet, be quiet. You don't need to talk. But my suggestion is just talk. Speak on this channel or speak out of it. Learn to start speaking for yourself. Because we lack MPs. The MPs do not have resources to accommodate every constituency. Try, assuming in your consistency, all the consistent members decide to meet their MP, which is what, in theory, we are supposed to be doing. If we are in debt, we should go and talk to our member of parliament about it. If our homes are in disrepair, we should go and talk to our members of parliament. We are suffering. Why are we suffering? We elected you, we sent you into parliament. What happened to the housing? What happened to the healthcare? We are supposed to be doing that. And whether we are doing that or not, leave a comment below and let me know if you're doing it. If you're not doing it, then probably you should consider starting doing something like that. Otherwise, we are going to suffer. And do you want to suffer? I mean, on the street, your children suffering on the street? Is that what you want? You are actually, probably as I speak, you're already on drugs. You're probably an alcoholic. You're probably extremely depressed. Some people are probably contemplating suicide. Is that what you want? That is not what you want. So we have to clean up. If you are happy, spread the message of happiness to the world. If you're sad, keep it to yourself. But we need to do the work. If you're a sad person, don't really share it with other people. we need to keep the work. We also need to keep the peace. Let us keep working, talking, keep sharing ideas. Let us be a community. Let us be families. Individuals also. I mean, I'm not trying to despise individuals. Let us be individuals. Let us be ourselves. Let us celebrate life. Let us be happy. And so we are looking at the sickness component of universal credit money given in the United Kingdom. Continue watching. So like I said, you start getting money from the government for sickness if you're sick, and you have been awarded £390 or about £400 to round it up. You don't get the money. You wait for 3 months. Why? Go and ask your MP. If you don't get it, or somebody gets it, if you go on the Government UK, you read about universal credit, the sickness element of universal credit. You take the information to your member of parliament and ask him or her, why should a sick person who is presumably supposed to get benefit wait for 3 months? What for? We have technology, we have even artificial intelligence now introduced in the Department of Work and Pension. Why should somebody wait for 3 months? Ask your member of parliament. And then there is another mystery about benefits, sickness benefit. If you're actually terminally ill, if your doctor says you're going to die maybe between 6 months and 12 months, then suddenly the Department of Work and Pension are going to give your money straight away. You see, you are going to get your money straight away because you're going to die. I mean to say, what kind of funny situation is that? If you are sick, you're going to die in 6 months or 12 months. Your doctor have actually said that, and you have provided evidence of being terminally ill. And then suddenly, the system changes. Why should you get paid straight away? Because everybody can be paid straight away. The government is refusing to pay people straight away deliberately because he doesn't want to give benefit to people. And there is nothing wrong with increasing the level of minimum wage. There is nothing wrong with increasing the level of benefit. The only reason it is not increased because of ideology and bad politics. Public sector is bad, so it should be destroyed. And that's why it's not funded. And if you don't fund the public sector, then people don't get help, including help with housing. Now, as I speak, go online on the internet and visit the public website. Look at the condition of housing. Go to the public website of Citizen Advice. Read about housing. You will know that they are not really easy things to read. They are extremely complicated. But you can read it because you're British. Or you live in Britain. You're clever. And in Africa, Africans are clever because everybody is now going to school. Everybody is educated sufficiently to understand even complex material. So you can go online and read about housing. You will discover that the government has no capacity to give public housing to anyone because of the way policy is implemented. If you wait for 20 years or 10 years to get a house, then what's the point? What's the point of public housing? You can get a house in a week. If you are actually renting privately, you can get it in 24 hours for private renters. And the local authorities are now sending people who are actually entitled to get public housing. They are being sent to rent privately because they have the power to do that. And what is the logic of public housing? I'm just giving an example, snippets of what is happening. For you to discover that it is not that something is wrong with anybody, nothing wrong with the government, nothing wrong with the British people. The only thing wrong is the politics is wrong. Because the politics says government shouldn't help people who need help. So this country, by default, either intentionally or recklessly, are preserved of the few and not for the many. The people who are actually super rich are the ones allowed to be housed. Because if you cannot buy your house outright, then you are in serious trouble, because Section 21 of housing policy, all right, allows unlimited power to landlords to evict you for no fault of your own. You didn't do anything wrong. You are renting privately because of your housing status, because of housing policy. The landlord has the power to evict you at any time, any hour, and you have nothing to do. You have to be homeless. You have furnished the house. You're trying to settle down, and you are evicted. I think you have to leave within 4 weeks, and you are actually homeless, and you go to the local authority. You may not actually be the house. You may not even get emergency building, temporary emergency building, again, a property. If you get that, you may not get a place and in condition which is so terrible. You have people who are poor, who are on low income, who are on no income, who are overcrowded, living in one room apartment, which is actually privately contracted to the council, in a 1-bedroom property. In terms of housing, people are living there overcrowded, maybe 2 or 3 people, maybe a mother and 2 children. Some of them are grown. There are situations where mothers are now leaving their children into their bedrooms, sleeping wrapped, especially single mothers, who incidentally are always left with the kids. The government is no longer helping them. They don't care. That is the only conclusion I make. There is evidence everywhere. I'm not lying about this because I have the information. Primary data from people I speak with. They are homeless, overcrowded, and the law says they should be rehoused. The council doesn't rehouse them. Because waiting for 1 month is waiting too long. People should be rehoused immediately. Whether they are actually living with family or not, with friends or not. They should have the right to accessing. Dignity is the name of the game. The government has lost any sense of value, any sense of respecting the British people. This must stop forthwith. Today, not tomorrow. Freedom for the British people today, not tomorrow. And what happened in Britain is happening globally, worse even in Africa. Poverty is a blight on society, and we can no longer allow that to happen. That cannot be allowed. It must stop today. And this is what I'm talking about. If you are terminally ill, in terms of benefit, in terms of universal credit, if you are terminally ill, you get it straight away. And why is it that you wait for 2 weeks and you are also sick? Remember, you are very, very sick. If you are just sick a little bit, you don't get this benefit. And it is actually an excuse of by the government to fail to provide adequate benefit for people. He argues that he wants to send British people to work. Where is the work? Now, you pay people £9 an hour. You pay people £10 an hour. And you allow employers to implement a 0-hour contract. You have to work for 2 years to have employment right. When I say employment right, especially right to unfair dismissal. You see, if employers can kick you out anytime, there is something called probation period. Probation period, if you start work, can last for a year. They keep postponing it. This is actually because employers has to be educated. They are not. We are not. I speak now. I'm a potential employer. Our tendency is to be corrupt. There is no evidence that a human being is not susceptible to corruption. And that's why we have the law. The law need to actually apply so that it actually provide a modicum of justice. At least a modicum of justice, some form of justice. And that is what the government is failing to implement proper law, employment laws. Because we talk about benefit, we talk about income, we talk about employment, we talk about income. And we're relating this to poverty or lack of poverty. Changing the condition of accessing basic source of income for basic source of livelihood is the right way, the right thing to do to get the British people out of poverty. I keep repeating this in case somebody is listening. In case somebody is not listening, it is okay. Speak. Even the winds will carry information and stick it into the head of a politician and their governments to understand that the British people need to get out of poverty today. Why? What are you waiting for? This is Britain. This is actually America. This is Germany, Japan, Russia, African countries. Name them. There is wealth. Capitalism has created wealth. It's creating wealth. Where is it going? Where is the wealth going? The wealth is being concentrated in the hands of the few. That's where the wealth is, and they are holding wealth, such as to allow wealth to rot. You tell me if that is evil, if it is actually right. It is your choice. It is your platform. If you have a chance to speak, speak. If you don't, be quiet. If you are given a small window of opportunity to speak, my advice is speak, if you are willing to listen. Because it is your life. If you are an MP, you are listening to this. If you are a minister, if you are a member of the security organization, which is actually the police, the military, if you are King Charles, member of the royal family, if you are on the street, if you are homeless, if you're listening to this, speak. Speak to yourself at least. If you can no longer speak to anybody, speak to yourself so that you will know what is happening. What is not should not be happening. And that is the responsibility. This is the moral and whatever other obligation we may have. Continue watching. Thank you so much for your support. We're looking at money. Universal credit sickness element. Sickness element is when you are sick. Sometimes you're terminally ill. You mean you are going to die out of your sickness. You're not going to recover. The prognosis would be that. But when you're very, very sick, you're extremely sick, actually, that's when you begin to get sickness element of universal credit. I say you don't need money because you're sick. You need good medical care. The money should be given to people who are healthy and to people who are sick because of a different need to get them out of poverty. And so, instead of fiddling with policy on benefit or employment, raise the level of the national minimum wage and the national living wage. Raise the level of benefit to £30,000 after tax if you work for living. That's the minimum. £30,000. And whether you live in London, whether you live outside London, is irrelevant. Let us stop complicating policy on income, because you see, the world is enough. There is enough wealth. If you're lucky enough to live outside London, earn more money, for living outside London, get 30,000 in benefit, 30,000 in employment minimum. And then we will see the rest. Get the British people out of poverty and make it simple. Because simplifying policy and process is one part of getting the British people out of poverty. There is no need making promises, writing things on policy when it is not implementable because it is so complex. It's so hard to get benefit. It's so hard to get employment. It's so hard to keep employment. It's so... I mean, why should somebody work for 10 years before they can get state pension? State pension should be got the day, if you work first day, you are recruited first day before even probation should be reduced to 3 months. No more. The maximum period for probation should be 3 months. People should be given full employment right, especially right to unfair dismissal should be provided immediately. You are recruited on day one. That need to be happening for people. The government should be fair, but more importantly, raise the level of pay to the point where anybody working should never be poor. And also teach the British people how to manage money financially and in terms of debt. So that you actually fund organization, especially charitable organization and statutory organization like within the local authorities. They should have the resources to advise on debt and on finance. Financial advice and debt advice should not be the preserve of the super rich. Should be the privilege of everyone in this country, in Britain, and these should be actually multiplied across the world. Britain's responsibility for the poor is to negotiate with the rest of the world to get citizens of the world out of poverty. Because the reason I'm saying this, the world has gone to a situation where Britain may play a leading role, but it has to negotiate with the rest of the world. Otherwise, nothing can be done, including actually getting anybody out of poverty. It's a global system which is rigged in favor of the super rich, the few, and not the many. We created this mess. Let us clean it ourselves. There is no peace for the wicked, because we practice wickedness and thinking the majority of the population of the world should not access housing and employment, shouldn't access healthcare, shouldn't access dental healthcare. They should access transportation. As we see now, I mean, who is able? We can afford to fly. We hide behind policies of to protect environment. If it is good enough to protect the environment for the few, then it is good enough to protect the environment for the many. And the best way to protect the environment is actually to improve technology of transportation. Don't stop producing food, energy, building houses, and pretend that you're trying to protect the environment. I mean, if it's good enough for the super rich to fly, it's good enough for the poor. Congestion charges should stop immediately. If it is not stopped, the government should pay poor people more to be able to afford to pay congestion charges, because rich people can afford it and poor people cannot. This is injustice. This is wrong. Congestion charges should be scrapped. It is a policy of evil in a world where vehicle driving is actually a necessity. Let us stop confusing the British people about the need for clean environment. Clean environment should be funded by the government. If it is going to be clean, then they have to really start producing electric cars and congestion charges. I don't know what the logic is. Build more road, build tunnels, or flyovers. You have money. You have given all the money to the super rich. Other people are billionaires, while others are actually getting only £10 per hour or even £10,000 per annum. I mean, what kind of country is that? And it's not just Britain, it's global, it's everywhere. This cannot go on. This will not go on. Speak to me if you are a minister. If you are King Charles, show up late. Because, somebody has to say something. And, you rather speak the truth rather than not speak at all. Tell the truth. If you ask me what is the truth, yes, you who are asking me are the truth. A human being speaking is the truth. You don't need to prove that you are telling the truth. You are actually the truth. You are the proof. You are the evidence. You ask me to go to the library to prove who I am. I'm a human being. I know what I want. I know what I need. Especially what I need. I need £30,000 per annum living in the United Kingdom. And similarly, across the globe in respective countries, whatever is able to get their citizens out of poverty must be, is a need. It's a necessity. It's about livelihood, about peace. We don't practice violence. We don't practice human wrong. Violence is actually the product of human wrong. Peace is the product of human right. And so, let us get on with it and stop, dithering. Stop playing politics or even hiding under complicated, precepts and principles. The time is now. Continue watching this video. Thank you so much for your perseverance, for your patience. I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad I actually produced this video. It's fairly random, but that is the manner and the nature of our platform. Thank you so much. Continue watching. Thank you so much. Continue watching. Appreciate your support. Share with family and friends. Subscribe to this channel. If you like the content, if you don't like it, subscribe anyway. Support it because somebody somewhere around the world might like it. You don't have to do anything. You don't need to really watch it. But if you watch it, appreciate it immensely. Thank you so much. We'll talk about universal credit. We'll talk about money given to people who need it. We talked about the sickness element within the universal credit. But I said, if you joined me earlier, when we began this process on this program, talking about money, I said universal credit is actually a new benefit. It's a part of government reform of the benefit system in the United Kingdom. It is actually moving away from legacy benefit. There is something called new style employment and support allowance. This means you are paid enough national insurance to get benefit. So it's new style because you can still claim employment support allowance, I think, for a year. I'm not sure. Leave a comment below if you know, but I will check. I can check the information online. But I think you can claim it for a year, and then you can transfer to universal credit. So if you claim new style job seekers allowance, which is actually an equivalent of standard allowance of universal credit, your new style job seekers allowance, which is actually an equivalent of standard allowance of universal credit, if you claim it, I think you can claim it for a year. But if you claim what is claimable, it used to be employment support allowance, but employment support allowance is legacy benefit. You can no longer make a new claim. That is the information. You can only make universal credit because it has been changed from those other benefits to universal credit. I have actually given this information in the other videos. If you watch it, watch the rest of the video as well. Thank you so much. And so, if you claim employment support allowance, and with a special, with a support or work-related activity component, so you claim employment support allowance with a support or work-related activity component. This is actually an equivalent of limited capability for work and limited capability for work-related activity, such as we saw in Universal Credit on this video. So something called, you claim ESA, Employment Support Allowance, New Style Employment Support Allowance, with a support or a work-related activity component. Support components is an equivalent of limited capability for work, which in practice with Universal Credit, you are less likely to get benefit because you are not sick enough. That is government policy. And you would also be expected to prepare for work, like training, doing employability training, for example, how to do your CV and all the rest of it. I also covered that on the video with Universal Credit. It's just an equivalence. So this is a support component, but also work-related activity component, which is you are very sick within the employment support allowance. And probably advice for many people is you can claim ESA, a New Style ESA, alongside Universal Credit. And the detail, the devil is in the detail. So take a look, take time to actually master these things. So you can check the full list of reasons why you might get the extra money earlier. You will need to open the aiding if you are sick or disabled. You can also talk to an advisor. I've already mentioned that. So if the DWP says you should do some work-related requirements activity, the same Department of Work and Pension as the capacity should decide that you stop getting them. You carry on doing them earlier than 3 months, because sometimes you do it for 3 months, or you can stop it earlier than 3 months, and the logic for that may or may not be straightforward. So if you are very sick, you may be given some money, but if you are claiming benefit, if you are very, very sick, on paper, theoretically, the Department of Work have obligation to pay you the money for your sickness. But in practice, this is not straightforward. Somebody who is found to be sick may still not be paid the full amount of what is owed. This is because of the complexity. For example, if you are getting care elements because you are caring for somebody else, instead of getting the full amount, if you are sick, if you are caring for somebody else and you are getting the care element, and you are actually in the process of a managed migration transitional element. So managed migration transitional element is when you are actually transitioning from managed migration, and it is an element you get paid because you are actually moving from legacy benefit and you are moving into universal credit as an element to be paid. And if you are actually getting that, if you are actually transitioning in a managed migrational fashion, and you are transitioning from legacy benefit to universal credit, you get an element with that. And that can actually prevent you from getting the maximum amount. So you might not get your payment might not increase by the full amount of the sickness element, because LCWR is an added complexity on the benefit of sickness called limited capability for work-related activity, which is actually a split between category of sickness, being sick and being very sick and being very, very sick. For different element of sickness, you get different element of benefit. You get nothing even if you are very sick. You get something if you are very, very sick. You get something if you are quickly. You get something quickly if you are terminally ill. And this is where we are with policy on benefit. And if you ask me about complexity, then you can talk about carer element. This element means money, universal credit, and it's an element in addition to the standard allowance. So you have a carer's element. And this actually impacts on the money you get. There are different elements. Managed migration, transitional element. These are actually elements when you are transitioning from managed migration into the real world of universal credit as a standard allowance. And you get this element, one of them, any of them, you get any of them. One of them is HDP transitional element. So LCW element also is looked at limited capability for work element, which is actually a type of sickness in terms of benefit, which actually normally you don't actually get anything. So if the Department of Work and Pension say you're sick enough to get paid limited capability for work related element, related activity element, if you decide, you have to question yourself when you're going to get it, 3 months, at least from 3 months upward, which means you don't get anything for 3 months. And after 3 months, you may not even get paid because you didn't give all the evidence, the medical evidence required by the Department of Work and Pension. And yet, the Department of Work and Pension already has done health assessment, because without health assessment, you won't get any benefit. Indeed, you are very sick. Only if you are actually about to die, then you are not actually you don't do the health assessment. You don't go through the process of health assessment necessarily. And this is something I've been talking about, that, you sound like some kind of, child play joke. And this is actually human life. You play games with it. And this is what I think, because this is we set policies, all right, but when it comes to life, a matter of life and death, life of money, life of livelihood, you don't play games with human life. And this is what I'm trying to say. Continue watching. Thank you so much for your participation.